am going to try making 100 mandu or Korean dumplings today. We'll be using my mom's recipe for kimchi mandu. She actually learned this from her mother, my grandmother, because she loved mixing kimchi and tofu to make her dumplings. I'm also going to show you 3 different ways, easy, medium, and hard, to fold the dumplings. It's the holidays, it's that time of year, and instead of giving away gifts, I always like to give away food. So I'm gonna make 100 dumplings and I'm gonna pack some up and give them out to my friends. Anyway, let's get started. Before we get to wrapping and cooking the mandu, we've got to make the filling. The filling starts with these glass noodles or sweet potato vermicelli, which is really popular in Korean cuisine. Most of you probably recognize it from japchae, which is one of my favorite recipes. You don't have to put vermicelli in your mandu, and my mom often complains that when you do, it makes things a lot harder because those noodles are slippery and they like to get out of control in your filling. But I love adding sweet potato vermicelli to my mandu, so I'm getting those soaking so that it takes a lot less time to actually cook. My mother always hand chops every single vegetable that goes into our filling. And by chopping, I don't mean rough chop like you see here. She minces everything. My mother is now 74 years old and has terrible arthritis. And I keep telling her, use the food processor. That's why I bought it for you. But you know how moms can be. They're sort of stubborn. I'm not that stubborn. As you can see, I'm rough chopping everything because I plan to use that food processor. The only exception are these shiitake mushrooms, which I'm going to treat a little bit differently from the rest of the vegetables. I think of my grandmother every single time I make these mandu. It's weird how you can go day by day being totally okay with something, and then all of a sudden your chest hurts and you almost start to cry because 할머니 isn't there to make mandu for you anymore. I always roll my eyes when people say things like, oh, your loved one will live forever in your heart, because for people who've lost someone, they don't want someone to live inside their heart. They want that person alive and reachable by text message. If 할머니 was still alive, I'd ask her to tell me about the first time she made kimchi mandu. As I mentioned, I'm going to treat the mushrooms a bit differently from the rest of the vegetables. I'm going to saute them in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and then I'm going to add just a tablespoon or 2 of soy sauce. I want my mushrooms to have a lot of flavor in them because they're going to do a lot of the legwork in the filling. Part of the reason the mushrooms get their own special treatment is because they release a lot of liquid. And as you probably have heard elsewhere, dumpling filling cannot be too wet because otherwise you're going to have a problem when it comes to folding. The remaining veggies I saute in the same methodology with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil as well as with some soy sauce for flavor. I'm also going to add my secret ingredient, which is a little bit of MSG. If you don't want to use MSG, you don't have to, but I have to say, since adding just the tiniest pinch of MSG to my filling, my mandu has gotten so much tastier. As I mentioned, the name of the game is evaporating all the liquid that seeps out of these veggies. See, that's a lot of liquid. You're going to have to cook this on medium heat until all of that liquid reduces and you're left with very concentrated flavor in your veggies. I've gone back and forth on the correct texture of the filling. Generally speaking, in my taste, I prefer something a little bit more coarse, more like small pebbles. However, when it comes time to fill your dumplings, it makes much more sense to have almost a paste like what you see here. So I'm going to go with that, but I'm going to add my tofu after the food processing because I do want that to be more coarse and mealy than I want pasty. Okay guys, time to buckle up for folding. In order to make things as non-intimidating as possible, I'm going to show you 3 different ways. The first way is going to be super easy. Anyone can do it. The second way is just going to be a little bit harder. And the third way is, I'm not going to lie, a little bit hard. What you see me doing here is something my mom taught me in order to create the wet crescent moons on the top of each wrapper. You don't have to do it this way. I just like to because it reminds me of my mom. Speaking of moons, the first wrapping method is super easy. You're just going to create a half moon by putting in, I would say, maybe a teaspoon and a half of that filling, bringing the bottom half up to the top half and pinching and pressing along the edges to create that beautiful half moon. See, as promised, super easy peasy. If this is the only folding technique you can master, I just want you to know this is the only folding technique my mother uses. 1 down, 99 to go. So the medium method, what I call the diaper method, and I'm not the only one who calls this the diaper method, by the way, is going to look shockingly familiar. It starts out exactly the same as method number 1. You create that half moon by pressing and sealing the edges, and then you're going to flip it upside down into a smile. You're going to create a little indentation in the middle, and then you're going to bring the corners up together until they meet and press and seal once more. You're going to go around the lip that you've created in order to reinforce that seal, because I often find little gaps in those, and then you're done. All right, the pleat and pinch, the hardest of the 3 methods. Not the hardest of all time, but the hardest of the 3. You're going to start as you did in the beginning. You're going to bring the bottom up to the top and pinch at the center. Then you're going to pleat the edge of the top flap forward into the center. You're going to do that 3 or 4 times on each side to create this pleat and pinch look. Then you're going to flip it to the other side, and you're just going to make sure that the seal is nicely reinforced. You're also going to shape the dumpling so that the corners face inwards a little bit. This is going to make them easy to cook as pot stickers. Okay, I have been folding these dumplings now for over an hour. I'm not anywhere near done. I am going to try and recruit some help here before it turns too dark to do anything. So you're gonna start by a little bit soft saran wrap on the parchment paper.
Okay, take one of these. Do the crescent moon. I'm gonna put a little bit in here. Since I'm a beginner, we're gonna just use a little bit. That looks about right to me. And we're gonna flatten it out. Now I fold, right?
Fold it to the top.
Fold it to the top.
Just the top.
Yep, I understand.
Leave the flaps open on the sides and
Flaps.
press.
That looks about like a perfect fold to me. All right. How's that look? All right?
And then press and seal.
Press and seal. Press and seal.
Pleat forward first.
See? Okay, that's terrible. Oops.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
This is a bit advanced, so for you newbies out there, you might want to do this on your first try, but... Okay, excellent. Look how much bigger mine is than yours. Some of you may not know this, but my husband gave up his big shot job as a tenured professor at a huge university in Chicago to work as the general manager of the Korean Vegan. And while it's been a lot of fun, as you guys just saw, we don't always see eye to eye. It is nice when we get to work together like this, though. Okay, I finally finished all 100 of these dumplings. Hooray! Oh my God. Took me forever.
There are generally 4 ways to cook your dumplings. Number 1, you can deep fry them, which is what I like to do for the half moons, and that's the way my mom prepares them for the holidays. She'll usually make her own 100 dumplings of these, and they will be all gone before dinner. The second way is pan frying, and for this, I like to use the pleat and pinch dumplings. When you shape those by gently pointing the corners inwards, you create a natural bottom, just like you see in pot stickers, that you can fry for crispiness. You then add just a little water to create steam to cook the tops. You know that the pot stickers are done when the tops are translucent and the bottoms are lovely and brown. Oh my God, look at them. They look so good. I like to serve my pot stickers, of course, with my favorite dressing in all the world, my spicy garlicky soy sauce dressing. I'll include a link to the recipe below. The third method is boiling them, and this is probably my favorite method. I like to use the diaper dumplings for these. Of course, you can boil them in plain water, which again is my favorite, but you can also add them to your favorite soups. As you can hear, Lulu is extremely upset at the Christmas tree delivery men. The reason I love this method is because the water, when mixed with the filling, creates this lovely broth that seeps out and mixes with that sauce, and it's just the perfect combination. The fourth method I'm showing here is, of course, steaming the dumplings, and you can see I've tried steaming both the pot stickers and the diaper dumplings. I'm not a big fan of steaming in general, and I discovered that the pleat and pinch dumplings did not fare well. The diaper dumplings were perfect, though. It's been about 2 years since Anthony and I started working together. Anthony and I both have very big personalities, and we're also very opinionated. There's a reason I became a trial lawyer. He doesn't always like my leadership style, and I don't always like his definition of the word deadline. The other day, though, I told him I feel like a loser. So many of the things I tried to do this past year, well, they haven't panned out. I took such a huge leap of faith when I quit my lawyer job, and I was starting to wonder whether I believed in myself a bit too much. Maybe it was all just a bunch of hype. He stayed quiet for a little bit, and then he said, "I totally disagree." And here's the thing. It was hard not to believe him, even though he is my husband, because he's also the general manager of the Korean Vegan, and he would know. People always ask me what the secret to self-confidence is, and having a partner like Anthony is a big part of that secret. Another part, well, it's having good friends. And this year, I've been blessed with some really amazing ones, which is why I made 100 dumplings.